Hi, it's Stephen here from Sound of an Ocean Wave, and this video is going to be about the Sabbath of Lughnasadh and relating it to the god Lugh. But a little bit of introduction. If anybody saw my live about the charms and challenges of a beginning pagan, during that video I related how this year I'd not connected with the Sabbats as well, or if at all, unlike last year. And we know it's a bit of a crazy time at the moment in 2020. But that I was just saying that was the case. I'd not managing to connect with it, but we have Lughnasadh coming. In fact, it's here because technically it's from dusk today till dusk tomorrow on the 1st of August. I mean, technically it's, we tend to say it's August the 1st, but really it's from dusk on the 31st till dusk on August the 1st. But I think any time from now through the weekend we can celebrate. We needn't be bound to technical time frames. Well, I don't believe so anyway. So I was thinking about, well, let's see if I can do a bit of research, a little bit of learning a bit more about Lughnasadh and the associations with it and what it's about, and see if I can begin to connect with it at this time. So that's what I've been doing, and I just want to share some of the findings that I've come across, and the understanding that I now have about Lughnasadh and of the god Lugh. So first of all, Lughnasadh. Lughnasadh is like the Celtic name, the Irish sort of name for this festival, for this Sabbath, and obviously named after the god Lugh. And literally means Lugh, or Lughnasadh is means like assembly of Lugh. It's like Lugh's assembly, and it's named after him. Another name for this Sabbath is Lammas, which means the loaf mass. The mass of a loaf of bread, loaf mass. So that gives you a clue as to what it's about. It's about, and I'll be referring to it as Lughnasadh, obviously, because I want to bring in the connection with you. And basically, it's the first harvest. It's the harvest celebration of the year. It's the wheat harvest. It's the grain harvest. So that's what a lot of it is about: the grain, the wheat, and obviously then the bread that's made from this, the different types of bread, and are used to celebrate it. So that's where the loaf of bread is like the produce of the of the harvest of this grain that we have. So that's what we're celebrating: the grain, the wheat that's been growing, the efforts and the toil that's been put into growing this wheat is now come to fruition, and is ready to be harvested and produced into food, into the bread that we can. And that's what it's all about, celebrating it's like our efforts have paid off, and we can harvest the first parts of that and celebrate. So, and that's how it applies to our lives. In our lives we can celebrate the first benefits of all the things we've been working on, and we can enjoy those first things that have come in. There'll be other harvests of the things that we can reap further on as we go through the year. This is only the first of 3 of the harvests. But Lughnasadh is all about the grains. So and it's this point of the year as well where we can connect it with the journey of the god and the goddess. And this is where the god, where like the god came to his full strength at midsummer of the longest day, at Lifa, and he, that's when he was at his strongest. But that's when also, he then began to die, and this is where he's, in Lughnasadh is where the dying process. He's not yet dead, but he's mortally wounded. He's going to die, but he's already taken care of that by by joining with the goddess of Beltane, I think, and he, she would then, that she would then conceive the new god, and that god will grow within her and will be born at Yule. So and then the whole cycle goes again. And if anybody knows the tale of the Oak King and the Holly King, the Oak King is the light half of the year, and the Holly King is the dark half of the year. And at midsummer, the longest day, that's when the Holly King mortally wounds the Oak King, and obviously then at Yule, the Oak King, representing the god again, is he defeats the Holly King on the winter solstice, which is the shortest day of the year. And that's when the Oak King then begins to take over. And the Holly King and the Oak King are twins, and they're both part of a whole. One needs the other, and they partake of the different halves of the year. And Lughnasadh connects with that in the sense that now we're beginning to enter into the autumn. We're beginning to enter into, we're not quite into the dark half of the year, but because the god isn't quite dead yet, but he is mortally wounded and will die, and then which will be marking at Samhain, and then they say then the god is rebirthed at Yule. So, and then the whole process of the Wheel of the Year carries on into next year, and so forth. So this is the part where, as I say, that he will begin to giving, he's dying, but his death is willingly given as a sacrifice into the earth to prepare the earth while it enters into the dark half of the year, ready for next spring, when new growth can come. So and this is what's essential. This is what is done, and Lughnasadh is a time for that kind of, so we're doing what is necessary in order to achieve something. It's it's a time when we can see what we need to do, and to give of ourselves to that process, and to adapt to what the changes going on around us. So that's basically what I understand Lughnasadh to be, and I can connect with that. I find that's very important to recognise and to celebrate how the earth has provided for us, and and I work with Gaia, Mother Earth, and I can celebrate certainly how she enables that growth of the wheat and the grain, and how it provides us with the food that we need. And we can, as we celebrate this harvest, we can celebrate that. So that, in a nutshell, I feel is what Lughnasadh is all about, and this is what we're celebrating. Now I'm going to now talk about Lugh, because of its connection with the god Lugh. Lugh was the son of Cian, who was part of the Tuatha De Danann, and I'll get onto that in a bit, and Efnu, who was the daughter of Baelor of the Fomorians, which I'll explain a little about those. Now, the Tuatha De Danann are a race of people, group of people with that's more or less like the the Celtic pantheon of the Irish gods, a race of people that that would given like a god like status, and they were a race of peoples that came into to Ireland. The fifth sort of race of people that came and there were there were others before them. One of them being the Fomorians, another race closely linked with the Tuatha De Danann, and the Tuatha De Danann and the Fomorians sort of had like a conflict, a battle, and the Tuatha De Danann sort of like succeeded, but and like took over, but the Fomorians sort of were still there, but more or less went into the underworld, into the underground, and they were still there. Now, the Fomorians were said to be more of the chaotic, dark kind of personalities, more into the chaotic things of nature, of the nature sort of deities and things like that. They were of the wildness and the dark and the unpredictability and that kind of thing, and often were portrayed as being sort of having deformities and other sort of aspects, but could transform into whatever they wanted. And the Tuatha De Danann was more sort of like bringing civilization, to the situation. They were more organized, more civilized, supposed to be more civilized and bringing growth, etc. So that was the contrast between them, the two. So and Lugh's father Cian was from the Tuatha De Danann, and his mother was from like the Fomorian sort of side, Efnu, who was the daughter of Baelor, who he'll come back into the story soon. And Lugh was given by Cian to the goddess Teal'c, and she like became like his foster mother, and brought him up, and he sort of grew into adulthood, and he then went to go to the court of the Tuatha De Danann, wanting to seek entry, but the doorkeeper was they wouldn't let anybody in unless they had a skill, or some kind of art or skill that could serve the king, who was King Nuada, and unless they could show that they had something to bring, to give to that, they wouldn't be allowed in. So he was saying, well, he could do work as a smith, do work like that. And they said, no, we have one of those, and he said, well, I can do poetry. They already had one of those. He could we could do magic, sorcery. Yes, we've got one of those. Can do all kinds of craftsmanship and art, and all these different kinds of skills. And he went and he was good. He was a warrior. He could be a hero, and all these kind of things. And they said, no, we've got all of those. But the thing was, he could do all of them. And he says, yes, but do you have someone that can do all. You may have someone that can do one of those things and someone that can do another one of those things, but you have someone that can do all of them together. And that stumped the doorkeeper, and he was let into the court. And it is then King Nawada of the Tuatha De Danann came to see that he may be able to lead their army to battle against the Fomorians, and he took over the army and trained them and went through asking what skills they could bring, and they then had a battle against the Fomorians, and Baelor, his grandfather, killed the King Nawada of the Tuatha De Danann, and but then in turn Lugh killed his grandfather Baelor by using a slingshot, similar to David and Goliath, and Baelor had like a poisonous eye that anybody looked at it would die, would wither, and everything. And Lugh, with his slingshot, shot a stone and knocked the eye through to the back of his head and out, and caused chaos amongst the Fomorians, killed Baelor, and they had the victory, and that's what then became a celebration of that victory. And Lugh was made king, and he took over that kingly role, and he calls a celebration to mark that victory, and also tying it in with the harvest, and that's why Lughnasadh, named after like the harvest celebration, is that in parallel to that, it's like that Lugh was like the preserver of the harvest for man, and like Baelor and the Fomorians, what Baelor wanted to, he was like the one. Baelor was the one who was like it's like a role over the harvest, but he was wanting to keep the harvest for himself and to keep it from man, and he wanted to take that harvest into the underworld, where man couldn't have it, by using his withering eye, his withering gaze upon the wheat, upon the crops, to perish it. And Lugh was wanting to preserve it and take that harvest for the good of man, or the Tuatha De Danann, and to keep it in that sort of realm and stop Baelor from doing that. And it's like the Baelor was like the blight on the harvest that can sometimes happen, and and blight happens upon a harvest crop through very hot and humid conditions, relentless, searingly hot and humid conditions, and that creates that blight, that kind of rust in the crops, can destroy the crops, and but when you get strong winds and storms, that can help to clear away those conditions and to protect the crops from the blight. And it's like Lugh, it could bring the winds and the storms, and sort of defeat that, in like the blight in that way, as well as to dry up the wetness that might bring the blight through the sun. So he's got the storms as well as the fine weather mixed together in balance, just right to grow, keep the crops healthy and to grow properly. And that's the connection with Lugh, with the healthy crops, and how he managed to defeat Baelor's plan to take the harvest for himself into the underworld. And that's why we're celebrating Lugh's victory over that you know, and so that we can enjoy our harvest. So that's and that sort of battle obviously mirrors the mythology of him actually killing his grandfather in the way I just described as well, and that victory. And obviously then the harvest is there, and he's like the preserver of the harvest, Lugh. So and in order to celebrate that victory and of the harvest, he created this festival, did like sporting games, athletic pursuits, sort of like a games that the maybe that the Highland Games maybe descended from, all those kind of things, almost like a tournament, fairs of games of athletic pursuits, horse racing, different things like that, in celebration of that victory and of that harvest. And he did that in honor of his foster mother, the goddess Teotu. And so, and it was done at this time, and that's where we get the festival of Lughnasadh, in commemoration of that. And as an interesting side note, it does mirror sometimes a little bit of of the Greek god Zeus, who killed his father Kronos, who was also like a god of the harvest. And it's like Zeus took over the harvest when he killed his father Kronos. And he too was like the god of the sky, of the storms and the wind. Like Luke could bring the wind and the storms to defeat the blight on the crops. So I find these little these stories of like the god Lugh and its connection with Lammas are very interesting. So it's helped me to connect with it, and it's all ties in together. So Lugh's a very interesting figure. He has as well as a slingshot, he has the spear, which can be like symbolic of the lightning and the storms and everything as well. And the spear was one that it always hit its target, and I think returned to him as well. So all these different things that make him a fascinating figure in the Celtic pantheon, and how it ties together with this festival of Lughnasadh. So I've enjoyed finding all these things out. I hope you've enjoyed hearing about it. This is just my perspective and the little bits of information that I've gained. And I'm going to put a link to a couple of other videos from different channels. There's one friend of mine, Lea Lynn, who interviewed her partner, who works with Lugh, and it's a short little interview, about 5 minutes or so, and it's good, interesting to hear from somebody that actually works with you, that follows the god Lugh, and some interesting facts in there. So I'm going to put a link to that there. Also, Mama Squirrel, Jennifer, a good friend of mine, also her channel, Mama Squirrel's Witchy Wisdom. She often does videos on different festivals and sabbats and different things like that. And then I'm going to put a link to her video, and go to both these channels, Lea Lynn's and Jen's, and subscribe. Take a look at their channels and subscribe. Give them some support, and yes, and have a good celebration of Lughnasadh. And I hope you like me, understand a little bit more of what it's about, and share your insights to it as well, because as I said, it's just from the bit of research I've done today in connecting with it. It's a very involved, I could go on and on and on. It's a very involved subject, and and hopefully I've put it across as understandably as I can. And but if you have extra insights, then please share them, because we learn from each other. We all have different perspectives. That's why I'm sharing the other videos below as well. We can all join in this discussion, and let's all join in celebrating this first harvest, this harvest of the grain, this Lughnasadh or Lammas, or whatever you want to however you want to call it, the first harvest of the year. Let's celebrate that and all the good things that we coming into our lives. There's lots of sort of negative things going on around us at the moment. Let's celebrate the good and the fruits of our energies that we've put in, and what the universe has given back to us. So let's do that. So that's it. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you for listening, and until the next time, take care everyone. Happy Lughnasadh, and I'll see you all again very soon. Okay, bye bye.